What it do, YouTube? It is closing out Valentine's Day weekend now, and as a tribute to Valentine's Day and the great weekend I just had, I decided that we're going to have a little short and sweet episode. Let's talk about love, shall we? As you know, it can't be me, and it can't be short and sweet talking about love without wine. Now I just have the corkscrew at the top, so it looks a little janky. But this bottle was gifted to me for Valentine's Day. Dare I say, by Future Bay Bars. So, as a thank you to her, and as a, I guess I don't want to say commemoration because it isn't anything like crazy or like any big like, I guess, milestone, but it's a video. It's a video that's dedicated to something that I feel like I'll have the pleasure of partaking in the near future, which is love. It's about love. So let's get into it. Fresh bottle popped. And of course, let's do away with this. By the way, very big attention to detail. I don't know if you guys remember / notice, but this is one of my favorite wine brands, and she got it for me. So, shout out to you. Wonderful. And of course, it is a Cabernet because that is my favorite red wine. And let's get it started. So, once again, this is going to be a short and sweet. You guys know what I do. I usually keep my notebook on me to keep it short and sweet, to make sure that I stay on topic and remember what I'm talking about and what I need to talk about. But my dumb self left my notebook over there. I'm going to see if I can grab it in a split second without ruining this right here. Wonderful. I did grab it. All right, so this is my notebook. I have written down, I had discussion topics and then questions that like two questions that people posed on like love and just the aspect of it. So I was gonna do the discussions and then the questions. However, I'm making the sudden executive decision to do the questions first, because I low-key want to end on a high note, and I feel like the discussions will be the high note of it. So I guess, without further ado, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, please click the like and subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, helps me out. Without further ado, I'm gonna get into it. So question number one, about let's talk about love. How has love changed through the generations? This is a little fun topic because there's so many things in general about not only society, but about just people and how we interact with each other that's changed through the generations. There's a lot of back and forth you can go to when it comes to this topic, only because people tend to forget that 60 years, mind you, 60 years, a very reasonable amount of time that a single person can live. In the last 60 years, things have changed very drastically, not only with society, but with women's rights, and then also just how men and women deal with each other in a societal standard. Also, I was going to go into something else, but that partakes to the second question, so I'm going to just leave that be. So for me, I feel like the way things have changed is that I think that it's three major things. One thing is that women have much more breathing room, availability, and just ability to do things on their own by themselves, without the need of having a man in their life. That's one. Two, I feel like the men versus women narrative that has blown up not only in social media but in pop culture in general added to that. And three, the state of the economy that we're in. Okay, so those three things I think really changed the game in how love has progressively changed through the generations. Because some people would say, oh, my grandparents, my granddad made all the money, my grandma stayed at home, they were happy relationship, raised a family, blah blah blah. And mind you, that could be very well true, and both parties could have been absolutely happy. And it was something that was, I guess, more commonly broadcasted for the older generations. But what, a lot of people know nowadays, and something that has gotten a lot better in today's world, is that not only did women not have the same opportunities and ability to do things on their own back when grandma and grandpa were young, but also the state of society has changed so much. Grandpa could go to school for 4 years, get a degree, or go to trade school and, do 40 hours of work a week and support an entire family. You almost can't do that today. Not only that, but you also have women with the ability to do the same exact thing, make the same amount of money, do their own things independently. So back when grandma and grandpa were young, not only were you better able to support with the salary that you got from the regular jobs, however, grandma almost had to rely on grandpa to take care of those things and keep a balanced family dynamic at home. It was much easier because of the fact that it was like traditional for the woman to stay home, the man to go out and make the money, and that dynamic was the standard. It was the standard. So that, combined with the fact that now the standard has switched, and it's no longer that. It's no longer guy goes out and make all the money, and the woman, I hate to say it like that, but has to stay home and take care of the kids because she doesn't have any options. That's not true anymore. Now she has all the options. She has the same amount of options as a man does. And that has switched things, along with, like I said, societal standards on what things should look like, because traditional relationships, I think, are a thing of the past. I think that in general, they're a thing of the past because of the fact that all those aspects of relationships and aspects of love have just completely metamorphosized into something else. I haven't took a sip of this. That's good. But yeah, those things have changed. Now, for better, is it for the better or for worse? Who's to say? For me, in my personal opinion, what I've seen and what I look for and what I want, I would just say it's a toss up. It's for the worse for me because there's a lot of people that are on a certain wave that pertain to those traditional values and stuff. And some people, and I'm not going to single out women either, both men and women, a lot of men and women in today's world have a very skewed outlook on what that's supposed to look like if you introduce a traditional mindset for a certain aspect of the relationship when the relationship itself is not traditional. Both men and women do that, and that can't work out. You have to find a balance between that because, like, say, you look at these podcasts, that people are all over. You can't say, I want a traditional woman or I want a traditional man, and what you're doing yourself is not traditional. It's near hypocrisy. I know what you want, but at the same time, what you want comes with what you have to do or what you have to reciprocate. And a lot of people don't reciprocate those things. So that's why me personally, I don't even say I want a traditional woman. I don't. I just say this is X, Y, and Z is what I look for and is what I want in a relationship. And I just have to find my person that, can mold to that vision the best. Because, yes, there's traditional and non-traditional things that I like from my woman. So I'm not going to put that generic label out there that I want a traditional woman. Because what I want from my relationship, low key, if you really dig down and deep into the specifics, is not really a traditional woman all the way through. It's not. So I'm not going to say that I want one. And I think that more people need to adhere to that style of thinking, because just throwing out the term traditional or throwing out the word modern or whatever word people use that's a antithesis of traditional, it doesn't work that well anymore. It doesn't. So I guess that little tangent leads to just kind of my answer with how things have changed throughout the generations. Grandpa and grandma you know, very little opportunities for there to be a different, I guess, dynamic between them. So the love aspect already had a guideline and something that was easy to follow, low key. Now with mom and dad, things started to get different. I would say that I'm not gonna lie to you, as far as like my parents and what I've noticed with that generation before me, it wasn't really more solidified. Actually, it was a lot less solidified and a lot less anchored than the grandparents' generation. So I feel like through the generations, it slowly started to deteriorate. Because I would say low key, the whole baby out of wedlock, people sleeping around, having children, without being married and stuff. That, I mean, it's always happened. It's always happened, even with like, people being in marriages, especially in, olden times where like it was almost expected for a guy to, have babies out of wedlock, and it was up to the woman to, do you think that your husband has enough resources or has a standing where it's worth just sticking with this conniving, cheating ass dude? Or do you have the privilege and space and opportunity to leave what you're in? And sometimes, especially, before the modern era took over, they did not have that opportunity. They did not have that space. So what's crazy is with the love aspect, low key, maybe grandma and grandpa and some of the generations before then, it wasn't really a sense of love. It was just a sense of staying where you could be stable. Because there's a lot of stories about that where like, grandpa and grandma, they weren't in love. They just stood together because that's what they had to do to take care of their kids, or to, make it as much of a family home as they could. And then, like I said, with the parents, that dynamic may have stayed, but now more opportunity for women and being able to be on their own and do things that they need to by themselves. It started to flip the script, and they didn't need to do that anymore. And then I feel like the whole woman versus men thing really started with my parents' generation. And then when my generation came to get into that age of like, dating and stuff like that, that's when social media blew up. And boy, oh boy, that leads to my next question. How has social media been detrimental to the way love is shown? Social media, when it comes to relationships and love in general, I think social media has been a very big poison in that realm. It has. Social media is good for a lot of things. Love is not one of them. Reason being, there's three main things that come to mind when I think about how social media has done negative numbers for relationships. Number one is that social media has given access to a lot of misconduct. It makes stepping out, it makes seeing other things, it makes wanting other things so much easier. Whereas our parents, they had to see stuff in person. They had to be approached in person. They had to do the approaching in person. Now, social media, DMs are so easy to slide into. All you got to do is swipe up, message. What you see, what the temptations that are out there and available for you to feast your eyes on is way, way too saturated, especially compared to, the previous generations who didn't have social media. All that temptation that they had to go through, they had to see in person or send a freaking postcard with a Polaroid picture. But, social media, that access is just right at the palm of your hand, and it's so easy to do that. The second thing that pops out is unrealistic expectations, because social media has become the center of envy, because people will post on social media, whether it be celebrities, whether it be social media models, or influencers and stuff like that. They'll post all this, that, and the third, and show off all these things. And now you have all these people that follow, all these people that are seeing your post, and now they're starting to get jealous, or they're starting to send to the significant other, like, why can't we do this, or why can't we have that? And that starts to build a lot of resentment and bad vibes in a relationship. Now, there's, good aspects of it where maybe, like, I would say a healthy version of that is seeing something that someone is doing and be like, hey, babe, I want us to work to where we can do something like this together. And I feel like that's a very healthy approach to something like that. But if you're using social media to send your significant other as a comparison, or as a like, yo, why aren't we doing this? Why ain't we got that? That's where the unhealthiness starts to kick in with, those things with social media. And it's a very, very detrimental thing to a relationship. And then the third thing I would say is that it's along the lines of like being detrimental to just your relationship, is very detrimental to self-confidence, period, in general. It doesn't even have to do with relationships. Like, you see influencers, health influencers, people that, stay in the gym, or people that make a certain type of money, and it's just too much room to see something and basically get in your feelings about it, or feel belittled, or almost feel like you're not enough because you see these randos. And it's not just celebrities, it's people that, like, who are these people? Like, you never would have known they exist without social media, yet, somehow they're out here balling or showing off this, that, and the third. And it's like, yo, what do I got to do to get that? And sometimes it can be a motivational thing. It can lead to some people like really wanting to lock in or do something that they either wanted to do or didn't really, have the discipline to do beforehand. But 9 times, I'll say 8 times out of 10, when someone sees something like that, it's not exactly from a motive. They're not looking at it with the intent of being motivated. They're looking at it with the intent of, or not the intent, but just it hits them with that, why don't I have that? Why am I not good enough? Like just outlook, and it's not healthy. What's up, bro? How you doing? Doing good. How you? But yeah, I just think that that's, the main things that social media has, I guess, affected relationships in a negative way. But then I want to go into, I guess, the more lighthearted, more, heart-to-heart part of what I wanted to get to in this episode, which is just talking about what I've learned about love up until now. Some of these things have been recent. Some of these things have been things that I've been, slowly noticing and acknowledging as I go along. So the first point I wanna address is what I've learned about love. There's a difference between blind pursuit and appreciative action. So I think that a lot of things tend to go wrong when people make certain choices or go after certain things in blind pursuit. And what that means is they're thinking that they're making steps, or that they're making progress and they're making actions, and they're not objectively seeing what fruits that those things bear. Because if you're constantly giving out and you're constantly doing things and you're constantly going out your way to do something, and you don't have anything to show for it, or the person that you're trying to, approach, pursue, whatever, and there's a moment where you have to be real with yourself, and you have to understand, like, what have I received from this person as reciprocation for the energy that I'm putting into this. And sometimes if we just take a step back and really notice that, we will learn that we just might be partaking in blind pursuit. I have been on that end of, I've been on that side of the equation numerous times, and it took me a long time to be able to, I guess, address those things from an unbiased standpoint. And it's hard to do that, especially if you already have emotions involved, or you're very infatuated with whatever you're pursuing. And what's crazy is this doesn't, like, 100% pertain to just relationships. It pertains to everything, whether it's a job, whether it's a hobby, career, passion, whatever. If what you're pursuing is not yielding results that you can be happy with and that can continuously motivate you to, enact the same pursuit, you might need to drop it. And what I mean by that is sometimes the pursuit does not yield results immediately. It does not change things or flip things maybe when you want to. And there's an art to balancing what that is. There's an art to figuring out if what you're receiving is reasonable for what you are putting in. Sometimes, especially like with me with acting, a lot of the reward or a lot of the benefits that come with the things that I do don't come immediately. That's one thing about acting. Like it will not come immediately. Think about it. Like, our film Midnight that we premiered at the movie theater, like we premiered that almost 5 years after we finished filming. Like about 4.5 years after we finished filming. So obviously that's my passion. That's what I wanted to work on for a long time. And what happened and the turnout that became what it did was worth it to me in the end. And it was a 4.5 year delayed gratification. I'm okay with that because I understand what we were working towards. I understand what our goal was. And I also understood what that night meant for us going forward. So there was a lot of layers to that, and I had to break it down and really understand that this is something that I'm okay with. Now, with love and talking to someone else, that delayed gratification, I'm going to tell you right now, should not take that freaking long. That's the good thing about dealing with people, is that it should not take you 4.5 years of delayed gratification to understand that a person is not either for you or not messing with you in that sense, in the way you want them to. So please keep an open mind. Just self-awareness is one of the biggest things that people are going to have to learn in order to adhere to a lot of the points that I'll be going over. My second point is doing versus sacrificing. What I've learned about love is that a lot of people will be satisfied or think that it's proper doing something for your significant other. However, I don't think that when it comes to true love, mind you, true love, like the real nitty gritty, like going to do this and be together for a long time, like I love you type energy, doing for someone is not going to be enough, because you can do for someone on your free time, when you have the energy, you can do for those people. But when it comes to love and it comes to being with someone that you plan on being, especially with forever, you're going to have to sacrifice, not do for that person. And the big difference is doing for versus sacrificing. Doing for is doing when you have the ability to do so and you have the option to do so. Sacrificing is when you don't have either the time, availability, or the option to do things, but you sacrifice something to make sure that what you need to do for that person gets done, if that makes sense. Because like I said, I guess it would be the difference between this, right? I have a work schedule, and say I have a woman that has a very opposite work schedule, and our free times maybe overlap for like maybe 2-3 hours out of the week. Doing for that person is spending those 2 and 3 hours with that person and doing whatever I can. Sacrificing for that person is doing whatever I can to move a shift around, take off, use my PTO, doing something that sacrifices what I'm doing for work to add to what I want to give to my other person. Sacrificing a little bit of money, a little bit of work time, a little bit of, PTO to give to the one that I want to spend the rest of my life with. Because, mind you, you can make up money at any time, but you cannot make up time at any time. Once time is gone, it's gone. So I would rather sacrifice a few shifts, a few dollars to spend time with someone that I love, that I can't replace, that you cannot replace with money, with nothing. So I think that when you are talking to someone, when you feel like you love someone, or if you're trying to get into a relationship with someone, if you see them just doing for you on their free time whenever they have time, then I think maybe they might be doing things out of more so a convenient standpoint and having fun standpoint. Once you see them starting to sacrifice things, starting to drop things for you, now mind you, there's a healthy version of this. Like, it's not healthy if you like are taking off like multiple days out of the week, like over half your shifts, or you're sacrificing like a lot of money and a lot of time with other people. Because just like I always say in just about any video that has to do with adult stuff, there is always a balance. However, if you are talking to a person or trying to get to know a person or trying to be with a person, and you can't name one thing where they sacrificed something or dropped something that they could have been doing for you, that's when you know that that effort for what you want in a relationship might not be there. Either that, or you're just not the person they want to give that effort to. One of these topics is something that someone did comment, which I do wholeheartedly agree with. The third topic is love is 24/7 work. And that's absolutely true. And that's not just in relationships, that's with anything that you claim to love. If you have a love or a passion for anything, it is 24/7 work. You cannot slack. You cannot, compromise on that. You cannot shirk your responsibilities or anything. No, if you have something that needs to be attended to, that needs to have that effort and energy from you, you cannot give that up. It's the same thing like with a child. Having a child is 24/7 work. And what's crazy is that 24/7 work half the time doesn't even end after they become an adult. And once you have a kid, you cannot shirk, neglect, do anything that jeopardizes your child's safety and health and happiness, because that's what it requires. It requires 24/7 attention. Now, yes, sometimes you'll be able to do your own thing. Sometimes you'll be able to take a break and things like that. What is the 24/7 when I'm talking about is having that heart and ability to pour your soul and your energy into what you love. Because you don't have to, be physically there, physically present, always up under them 24/7. However, there's a mindset and also just a emotional and spiritual connection that you need to have with something that you love that cannot waver. And if that does waver, then you really do have to question yourself. Like, do I really love this thing? Do I really love this person? Which are all valid questions, but that's one of the things that I think people need to take into account. People do throw the love word around so easily. I fall fast. So if I get into a relationship, that love word might come quicker than you would think. But when I say it, I mean it, with my heart. I'm not lying. I'm telling you that I love you, and that effort and energy that I want to put in will not subside and actually grow stronger as we grow stronger in a relationship. And then my last one is something that I feel like low-key I've always known, but very, very, very recently have come to accept and not be afraid to do, which is be unfiltered. And I say that because what's funny is when I wrote this, I thought I was going to have moments where I was like, okay, balance or whatever. But honestly, no. I don't think you need to balance this one. I think this one is just what it means. I think anyone who goes into any relationship trying to talk to someone, trying to be with someone, or is already in a relationship, be unfiltered. Because the last thing you want to do is go through a whole talking stage with someone, getting to know someone, and having a constant filter over your sense of humor, the things you think about, your mindset, your beliefs, the way you move, the way you act. The last thing you need is a filter over that, and then having a person falling in love with that, or you getting into a space where you're almost acting and behaving like something that you're not. And both of those things are very detrimental, because if that person falls in love with the filtered part of you, especially if you're someone who's working for the forever, you can't keep that up forever. And when that filter breaks down and crumbles away and the real you shows, it's going to do one of two things. Either it's going to put an immense strain on your relationship, or it's going to put an immense strain and end to your relationship. Like I said, I think with me, I recently learned one thing to, I guess, kind of transition back to the whole social media thing is like a lot of things that happen on social media, podcasts, videos that you see about people in relationships, and what gives girls the ick, what gives guys the ick, what you bring to the table, like all these things that people talk about. You start to get a very popularized opinion on how people move, on how certain demographics move, or just how sexes move in general. And that part is very unrealistic and unhealthy in my opinion, because now you're starting to generalize what a certain group of people want, need, or fancy when it comes to courting, dating, being in a relationship, whatever. And when those things get that skewed, that social media does, because mind you, social media does not show what the general population actually thinks. It shows what gets views. And sadly, what gets a lot of views are low-key things that are naturally controversial, or just filled with drama. And those are the things that go viral. But because they're the things that go viral, people are so attached to social media. I'm no exception. However, there was a big time in my life that I lived without social media. So I can bring myself to a point of view where I'm not looking at this as fact. I'm not looking at social media as the tell-all be-all, because I've been without it. I've been in personal conversations, just speaking to people of all walks of life. So I know that these things that go viral, these things that get popular, are not the general consensus. However, not everyone thinks like that. And on top of that, because of the fact that people fantasize and almost glorify social media, those things that go viral, people take to heart for real. And that leads to people wanting to either put on a facade or hide a certain aspect of them that they think the opposite sex is not going to like. And I won't say I'm guilty of this, but the thing that led me to realizing to be more unfiltered is that speaking my mind, speaking about the real worries and issues that I have in my head, and worrying, like, if I speak this out loud, is this person that I like and want to go after, are they going to see it as like, ew, like, why are you even thinking like that? Or are they going to see it as like, oh, that's like, that's weak. Or like, they might look at me as a lame or a square or whatever have you, like whatever term you want to use. Being afraid that they'll look at me in that way. I've been rejected for so many things about either my personality, things I can or can't control. And when I have those things that I want to bring up to someone, or if I'm, pursuing someone at any point in time, if I have a worry, I want to voice it, but then I don't want to voice it because I don't want to come off as like I don't want to come off as lame. I don't, especially if we've already been vibing for a minute. And like, I don't put on facades, but there's still a time and place to voice things and to say things and do things. So no, I'm not hiding anything at the moment, but I'm being more reserved because there is a time and a place to let certain things go. Being able to have that situational and emotional awareness is a very good thing. It's not being filtered, but it's just knowing that there is a time and a place for certain things to come up and be talked about. But then when those time and places arrive, it's very nerve-wracking to talk about it because I'm sitting there in my head like, is she going to be one of those ones that thinks about this in a negative way or looks at me differently because I spoke this? And to that I say, that doesn't matter. To that I say, let it go, say it, do whatever you need to get it off your chest and get it on your mind, off your mind. Because for me, if you're looking, like, I work for forever. If you're working towards forever, if you are wanting to date with a reason and with purpose, you letting that go and saying that to your significant other or who you want to be your significant other, and they receive it wrong or they receive it and either throw it in your face, dismiss it, laugh at it, whatever have you, that right there shows you that they're not the person you should be pursuing. People have to lose that fear of losing the person that they're infatuated with. You have to be able to speak your mind, lay your boundaries, express your deepest thoughts and feelings without, fearing that the other person is going to either take that and throw it back in your face or they're going to leave you for it. Because my thing is, do it. And if it happens, yes, it's going to hurt, but then that shows you that you dodged a bullet. You took that filter off, let it happen. You were shown that this person wasn't for you and this person wasn't going to receive you properly. So now you know that this person isn't for the long run. And you did not waste your time. You did not waste their time. You actually sped things along so you could figure out that this person was not for you. And I feel like your fear of ending up with someone that you shouldn't be with for the long run should override your fear of momentary embarrassment or rejection. That is one of the things that I had to get used to and had to come to terms with. I had to understand that maybe day or two of heartbreak would be so much better off for me than getting into a relationship with someone who I can't be myself around, or I end up being myself around and now things are awkward or things are not the same anymore. So now I'm deep in a relationship that I'm starting to have second guesses about, where if I would have just been unfiltered from the beginning, showed my goofiness, show my inner thoughts, show my worries, concerns, personality, whatever, all of me and what you have to look forward to in a relationship, if I show that to you and you accept it, then going forward is so much off your chest. It's so much pressure that you don't have to worry about. But if you don't, not only are you going to carry that pressure with you into the relationship, but if that pressure boils over or if something pops out and surprises your significant other, it's going to possibly ruin the relationship. Like, it's a 75% chance of that happening. Now, mind you, the vulnerability, the deep parts of you that you didn't show at first, it might come off as a pleasant surprise to someone. Someone might, might take it as a good thing, or they might just accept it. However, why would you gamble to deal with that when you're deep into a relationship rather than just let that out before y'all get that far and let her or him figure it out for yourself if that's something that they want to deal with or that's something that they're compatible or okay with. Now, mind you, like I said, there's a time and a place for everything. You don't want to be trauma dumping on someone on the first date. No, don't do that. That's not good. That's horrible. That's a bad idea. But awareness. It's all about being aware of who you're interacting with and what the vibe and energy is, because there are things that I can express to someone on a first date about me just to see how they're feeling. Rise up. Yeah, I got this working for the Falcons. So, mind you, anyone out there, I am not a Falcons fan. I'm actually a 49ers fan. 49ers fan. But yeah, I got this working for the Falcons. But yeah, like for me personally, there's things that I can reveal on a first date that may be a little personal. However, I know that this is the type of energy you give on a first date. It's not something too deep. It's not something that's like traumatic or anything. It's just a little bit about me, a little bit of inside of how I think, how I view things. And then as you get to know someone and as you talk with them and get to know them, that's when you start to slowly build up and open that can of this is who I truly am. And being able to do that is a wonderful thing, and you should do it. Do not keep a filter on yourself. I would say instead of a filter, it's like a valve for water pressure, right? It's you're not filtering out the deep innards of who you are, but you are putting a limit on how much you let out, because what you're letting out is still 100% you. It's just not all of you. When you put that filter on, you're letting out a very pristine, I guess, like little social media image of what you are. And that's not what you want to do. So don't put the filter. You don't use a filter, use a valve. Pressure, not filter. If that makes sense. I think I'm making sense. I want to make sense. But yeah, that's basically just the whole gist of things. Thank you, A. Kirk, for sending the rose. That's awesome. Thank you so much. It's actually the first gift I've gotten in quite a few lives. Turn up. But yeah, that's just basically the breakdown of what I want to go through. Like I said, ending the Valentine's Day weekend. It's obvious that I had to go with the love theme. But like I said, there's just a lot of things that I've noticed, and I've had so many episodes where I talked about love and relationships. I was kind of like contemplating whether to do this because I've done so much on the topics. But I'm glad I was able to find certain things that I feel like I haven't not necessarily talked about, but like gone into like depth about. But like I said, I've learned very new, recent things that I wanted to get off my chest as well. And there's certain aspects of love that I feel like I could talk about for days, days and days and days. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for joining. I appreciate you guys for those of you on YouTube that are watching. This has been, I'm not going to lie to you, man, the start of this year has been absolutely tremendous. 2025 is continuing to become a very fruitful year for me. And I don't even think I'm jinxing myself. I just think that I like to speak it into existence that 2025 has been the start of a lot of chapters, and all these chapters are leading into very good places. And I definitely want to see this through. And I think that I won't say it's long overdue. I think it's coming at a perfect time. Because the last 3-4 years have just been a build up to a lot of stuff. But hey, man, this is awesome, and I want to, of course, stay consistent with the podcast. I think I've been doing better with the podcast episodes than I have over the last couple of years. I want to keep this up, but now I'm just rambling, so I guess I'm just gonna end on that really good note. But thank you guys. In commemoration for Valentine's Day, I just want to say I love you guys. For those of you that still stay watching my videos after all this time, for the new people that are coming through and joining, and just having adult, nice, intimate conversations with y'all. I hope you've gotten the gist that that's what the vibe of my podcast is. Like, I don't do crazy stuff. I don't do. I might get into streaming a little bit. it may be very saturated with Call of Duty stuff, but I gotta figure that out. But yeah, I love having just intimate adult personal conversations with my people, because that's the type of person I am. I'm not gonna front, and I'm not gonna do weird or crazy stuff for my YouTube video. I'm just gonna be real authentic, and I'm gonna just be with you guys, and that's just the type of guy that I am. But yeah, let me not say thank you for the 20th time. Please, if you haven't yet, like and subscribe. It does not cost you anything, and it does something for me, so please, it takes 5 seconds. But yeah, thank you guys for coming in. I said thank you again. And I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of the week. I hope that you guys had a good Valentine's Day weekend. I know I did, so I really hope that everyone got a chance to enjoy it in some way, shape, or form, either with a significant other, family, friends, whatever have you. But yeah, that would be it for this episode. It did go longer than I wanted to, but you know what? That's fine. When does it ever go how long I initially intended it to? Never. But that's all I got for you guys. Until next time, and I shall see you later. Ooh.